Shit. No, it's not what I wanted to do. Oh my god. You gotta be kidding me. Probably shouldn't have started the live yet. Ugh. There we go. Hey. Sorry. Having issues. All right. Oh god, I look like a hot fucking mess. Jesus Christ. Woo. All right. Let's see. All right. Hey, so all right. I Ugh, I got my crayon shirt on, Nancy. Hello. I'm gonna have some conversation. So I was on the phone with somebody, and we were for whatever reason talking about West Memphis, and it's somebody who's she's pretty well. She knows the case pretty well. She's probably the person that I would say knows the case more than anybody else that I really know of. Maybe one other person. And we were having conversations about the case, and apparently, because you have my crayon sticker, nice. Um, I know, great shirt, right? And I've always told you guys that I deep dive, and I was telling her about how I had found this page back in 1997, and how I had found it again. She's like, "How the fuck did you find one from 1997?" I'm like, "Trust me." So I found it again, and I gave it to her. And I was telling her about all this stuff, and she brings something up. I'm like, "No, that's not what happened." So it got me thinking again, and I got some stuff pulled up, and I want to have a conversation about some of the stuff that went on essentially after the West Memphis Three actually got released. They were released. They took an Alfred plea in 2011, and a lot of shit has happened since 2011 because I just went back and I got dates. By the way, I am live on YouTube, Ryan Lee TM. If for whatever reason TikTok decides to boot me, I am live on Ryan Lee TM. So after, if you guys are not aware of the case, essentially, May of 1993, three 8-year-old boys were found in a creek, very, very, very deceased in a very gruesome way. And essentially, there was a satanic panic witch hunt for three other teenage boys. They were 16, 16. Jason, I can never remember. Jesse was 16. I want to say Jason was 17. And Damien was just about to be 18. This was in West Memphis, Arkansas in 1993, May. I want to say May 6th. I might be wrong on the exact day, but I want to say it was May 6th, 1993. This case was huge. It was a huge, huge case. It was the case for me that started me really intensively in true crime. I had, John Bonet, of course, had started in 96 as well after. But West Memphis for me was always the case. It was the case. The book that changed my mind about true crime in general, if you ever need to read a good true crime book, is Devil's Knot by Mara Leverett. It will, if you ever had any faith in the American judiciary system, you will have none by the time you read this book. This book opened up my eyes so much on how the justice system does not work. It just doesn't. I had no idea until I read this book, because again, I was a stupid teenager, that innocent people would go away for crimes. I did not know that was a thing that could happen. And after reading this book, I realized absolutely, and that is exactly what happened in this case. There was a movie. It is 2013, Devil's Knot. It was made from the book. It is a slow burn. If you're looking for, it was based off the book, so it's actually a really good movie. However, it is a slow burn. It has a lot to do with the court case, not a whole lot to do with. It wasn't more as much of a reenactment of the crime itself. So, good movie to watch. Slow burn. Reese Witherspoon stars in it. There is a scene that is, I don't know how she did it. I was just talking on the phone about this. The scene where they find her son, she lets out this scream that I don't know how she did this as an actress because it was so real. I almost wonder if they had taped Pam Hobbs's scream, because I've never heard somebody scream as an actor so believingly. It literally just tears straight through you. I'm not affected by that shit, and I was affected by that shit. It is Devil's Knot by Mara Leverett. And so basically there was this witch hunt, and the boys, when the boys were found, they were found in a very bad place. They were three people. There was three 8-year-old boys. They were found in a creek, and they were hog-tied with their shoelaces. They were found nude. Their bikes were thrown in the creek. They were thrown in the creek. The bodies were mutilated. The one, come to find out later on, the one boy was beaten to death. The other two drowned from being hog-tied, beaten, and thrown into the creek. And there was a hunt that went on that night. And eventually they found the boys in the creek. And you have to remember, this is West Memphis, Arkansas. Look, the 90s were not today. The 90s were not today. And in the 90s, there was a heightened area of satanic panic. At that point, there was a lot of people who were having regressed memories of being raised in satanic cults. Don't ask. It was a thing in the 90s. And so when this happened and these boys are mutilated, the first thing they did was go, who is weird in this town? And when I say that this was satanic panic oriented, there's proof. Okay. So when they went after Damien Echols was the black sheep. He wore black. He listened to Metallica. He read Stephen King. He had dark black hair. He wore black clothes. He claimed to be a witch. I'd be in trouble if I was in West Memphis, Arkansas. Can we just say that? Matter of fact, in the documentaries, which are called Paradise Lost, Paradise 2 Revelations, Paradise 3 something, and then West of Memphis after the fact, they actually zoom in on his bookshelf and say, well, obviously there's a problem. He reads nothing but serial killers and occult. And I looked at my bookshelf at the time and went, well, I'm fucked. My camera's doing its thing again. Can we stop being fuzzy? It's being fuzzy. There we go. That's better. Okay. Stephen King was his favorite. And there was actually a Stephen King novel introduced into trial. We're going to get into the stepdad, and I'm going to show you how I have allegedly proof he did it. And not your standard bullshit. I have autopsies and affidavits. So stick around if you want to hear about how involved that stepdad was. So I have a whole explanation of this on Real Crime Replay, a long version, a short version, but we're going to get a lot more involved today. So there was actually a Stephen King book introduced to his trial, because apparently that just showed you killed people, which was fucking stupid. But anyway, so he was a weird duck, and he played into being a weird duck. And Jesse Miss Kelly was a off-fringe friend of his that was slow. He had a 82, I want to believe, IQ. And they brought him in. And to hear his interview tapes, he was not given adequate anything. They only recorded 45 minutes of the 12-hour fucking interview. In his interview, you can hear that he has no idea what the fuck is going on. Yes, the stepdad of one of the 8-year-old boys. Yes. And it's not the one they originally thought. It's the other one. because there was two that were wondered if they were. Just hear me out. I gotta tell everybody what's going on first. I will get into the whole stepfather thing, and I will lay it down for y'all because I got stuff, I've had stuff, and I've talked about stuff. We're going to talk about it in depth today because I got nothing else better to do. So they bring in Jesse, and Jesse throws Jason and Damien under the fucking bus. And there was a lot of reasons. There's a lot of people involved. When I tell you the case file that I have is ridiculous, it's ridiculous. They question hundreds of people. There's crime scene photos up the ass. There's DNA everywhere. There's people who were pulled in as informants. There was the amount of stuff that I have is wild. Okay. And so Jesse got pulled in because somebody gave him a pair of shoes. Essentially, there was a pair of shoes in question by one of the kids who later on, after the Alfred Prix, was considered a new suspect. We'll get into that in a minute. There was new suspects named in 2013. We'll get into that. Jesse got pulled in over a set of fucking shoes. So Jesse starts squealing like a pig and says, Jason and Damien. So, of course, that's all the cops needed. Satanic panic was at a height. Damien's weird. Somebody named Damien. Let's go. So they haul them all in. Now, you got to remember, they're 16, 17, 17, 18 years old. Okay. They are essentially kids. Now, they ended up being not only guilty and serving life imprisonment at 16, 17, 18 years old. They gave Damien the death penalty. Not once, not twice, but 3 times they sentenced this man to die. 3 times they sentenced an 8-year-old to die. And so right off the rim, this is the beginning of the internet, y'all, the very beginning of the internet. And I don't know how to explain this to y'all because y'all weren't there. There's very few people that are going to know what the fuck I'm talking about when I say that the internet in the 90s was a wild, wild west. It was not Google. There was not whatever. You had to be inventive when you look shit up. Okay. There was not the websites. A follower gave this to me because I talk about crayons. The internet was not the same place it is now. Okay. But even back then, I was very inquisitive. So I'm looking shit up. I'm looking all sorts of crazy shit up. I'm looking up shit that I mean, I don't even care. I'm trying to absorb. And I find a site that I probably shouldn't like. There was the original site, which I was talking to my friend about, and I said, I found a site from 1997 and I probably shouldn't have found it, but I found it and it keeps burning a hole in my brain. So I went back and I looked and I found it again. It is still up. She said, how the fuck is a website from 1997 still up? Are you serious? I'm like, yes. And I just found it again. It's still there. However, after I found that particular website, there was like another weird little eyewitness account type deal that talked about it even more in depth. And I couldn't find that if I needed to. It was typed up really weird, really strange, but I'm telling you, it was legit. So I had found all this weird shit going on. I had just read the book. I believe maybe at that point, Paradise Lost was out off of HBO. They put out 1, 2, 3 came a little bit later, and West Memphis came out after they accepted the Alfred plea. Alfred pleas are extremely rare, and that should tell you exactly how West Memphis, Arkansas police know they fucked up. And they will never, ever admit to it. Ever. My friend says, what if there's a deathbed confession? I said, then it's going to be on page 6. And nobody's ever going to hear about it. I'm going to tell you that right now. Yeah, it was dial-up back then. It was dial-up. I had dial-up internet. And then I was lucky enough to get that beep, 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 beep kind. I finally upgraded. Anyway, so you couldn't be on the phone and have your internet at the same time. That's what it was like back then, okay? If mom needed to use the phone, you got off the internet. So anyways, so everything goes, or you had 2 lines. Like, we couldn't afford 2 lines. Are you fucking serious? Actually, I did end up having my own line. I think that's why I was on the internet so much. I actually did end up paying for my own line. I'm going to do an unboxing tomorrow. I couldn't wait. I'm waiting till I get my second bottle. For those of you that know, I ordered this bad boy, and then they drop new bottles 12 hours after I bought it. So I bought a new bottle. I'm going to be doing an unboxing. This is the Squeezy Circle bottle. We're going to be doing an unboxing here probably tomorrow when I get the other one. I have in green apple cherry on number 4, and it's actually really good. I was getting a drink. Hold on. Okay, to continue. Yeah. So we're gonna be doing an unboxing. My husband says, "Don't do the unboxing till you get the pretty bottle." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I said I would unbox, and I jumped ahead. I was excited. I was like, I got to do this. It's actually green apple cherry. So to continue on. So the boys go away. And in the meantime, a lot of other shit starts happening. A lot of other shit starts happening. Shit that doesn't really make it out of Arkansas. Okay. If you're in Arkansas, I got tons of shit from Arkansas, tons of Arkansas papers. But after the boys went away, it was done. It was 3 teenage boys doing a satanic ritual sacrifice and killed 3 8-year-old boys, and they were found guilty, and it was done, and it was over, and everybody fucking forgot about it. Right. Then about 1997, 98, maybe a little bit sooner actually, it started getting traction with Hollywood, and people like Henry Rollins, Margaret Cho, Johnny Depp was fundamental in West Memphis 3. Johnny Depp was the face, other than Henry Rollins and Margaret Cho, the face of West Memphis 3. Johnny Depp ended up being best friends with Damien Eccles and Marilyn Manson. They all run together to this day. But Johnny Depp was integral in getting the West Memphis 3 looked at with fresh eyes and more people and in the spotlight, because these boys at that time were sitting, and Damien was going to die on death row. I mean, period. They were going to kill this motherfucker. So Henry Rollins starts speaking up. Margaret Cho, the comedian, starts speaking up. Here comes Johnny fucking Depp. Mid-90s, poster boy, poster child. Everybody loved Johnny Depp, right? He's a little weird one, but it's okay. So the movie with Reese Witherspoon came out in 2013. 2013. It's called Devil's Knot. It's based off the book Devil's Knot by Mara Leverett. So about that time, I get the internet, and the singer Pearl Jam. Yes, Eddie Vedder. Eddie Vedder was huge. Yes, very good. Thank you. Eddie Vedder was huge. At the time, Pearl Jam was a big band. Henry Rollins, he was really integral in that. And Pearl Jam was big. It was huge. It was a really big, good 90s rock band. And Eddie Vedder was huge in that. Thank you for reminding me. So the internet comes along. I'm doing my little internet sleuthy thing that I do. I'm a bored teenager. I got nothing else better to do. Time on my hands and internet at my fingertips. So I'm looking shit up. Here comes along westmemphis3.org. I spent a lot of time on that website. And, the movement was going. It was really picking up steam, and people were really, there was rallies now. Okay. We had Hollywood. We had rallies. We had people actually trying to get these boys out. And, so we're going 19, so we went in late 90s into the 2000s. During that time, we had the book come out, and we had the HBO documentaries come out. And if you guys ever watched a show called Cold Case, it was fictional. I'm not talking about the true crime Cold Case. There was a show back in the day with Poppy Montgomery titled Cold Case. And I want to say about season 3. They opened up, and I will never forget this because it was wild at the time. And you're only going to understand what I mean by wild at the time if you are my age. If you're not my age and you weren't there in real time, you're not going to understand what I'm about to tell you. They decide they're going to open up, I want to say season 3, with what they believe happened on the when this happened. Okay. But the kicker was they were going to play like Nirvana. I don't know if they played Pearl. I want to say they might have played Pearl Jam because he was in whatever. They were going to play Nirvana, and this was primetime television. They were souping people up. Season 3 was opening up, and there was going to be this case, and they were going to show what really happened, what they thought, and they were going to have this Boss soundtrack that's now played in like Walmart because we're old. But anyways, back then, cutting edge. And I remember being so excited, and I tuned in to this episode, and they took the stance that a lot of people ended up taking behind the scenes, which was one of the stepfathers did it. Now, when HBO came out, and when the first documentary came out in Paradise Lost and Paradise Lost 2 especially, they centered on one of the stepfathers named Mark Byers. Mark Byers was a weird duck. He was weird, and they capitalized on that like they do in documentaries, and HBO wanted their money. So they capitalized on showing what a weird duck Mark Beyer was. He was weird, y'all. If you got to go back and watch, you got to see what I mean. The man was strange. He was shooting pumpkins, talking about they were the West Memphis Three. He gave a knife to one of the producers on HBO. By the way, I'm on Ryan Lee TM on YouTube. If this gets canceled, Ryan Lee TM on YouTube. And you'll be able to watch it later if you've missed anything, as there's always replay. So he gave the producers of HBO a knife. They had it tested. Why? I don't know. Blood came back as a match type-wise to Byers and one of the missing boys. Type-wise. So then they're like, he did it. He did it. He didn't do it. He was just weird. He was nuts. He had a brain tumor. He was nuts. But, by the way, that little article that I found back in 1997 had to do with the fact that more than likely he actually killed his wife after the fact. But we're going to talk about that later. So they were talking about how Byers. He was weird. Had to be the stepfather. He was weird. But what they didn't do, and even in the case files that I have, the case files on Mark Byers is this fucking big, okay? They looked at Mark Byers up, down, left, right, and sideways, almost as much as they looked at Damien, to be honest. Now, at some point, right about the time they were looking at Damien, they were also looking at two other kids. One flew over to California, something about an ice cream truck. Anyway, they ended up just, they got rid of them. That was obviously pointless. But they really, really looked at Byers. But what they didn't do is they didn't look at the other stepfather. Okay. And the other stepfather, which we're going to talk about, and that once I finally get you guys up to par, is when you look at the movie Devil's Knot, it is shot by Pam Hobbs's view of what happened to Pam Hobbs. Now, Pam Hobbs, she was married to Terry Hobbs. And I'm going to show you through affidavits and autopsy discussion, along with a couple of other things, of why Terry Hobbs may very well allegedly be the actual perpetrator of this crime, not based off of internet bullshit, but of actual court documents that I have. And I actually found something that backs me up. I've always talked about it, but I found something today, you don't even know about this, Ozzy, that backs me up. So I put out a video a couple months back on Real Crime Replay, a nice little 7-minute recap of what I'm saying today in 7 minutes, which should tell you that that's a really short recap based on how long I've been talking. It's 22 minutes. I haven't even gotten to where I need to be. That there was other people involved. And I showed you guys some affidavits, talked about some autopsies. But we're going to talk about that more in just a second. It's going to be a real long live, more than likely, because I haven't even got to where I need to be. And I'm a half hour, and Ryan Lee TM on YouTube. There will be a replay after this. So they go to prison. The 90s rock movement is gaining momentum. It's gaining momentum. And it's getting bigger news. The website's getting bigger. There's rallies, there's merch, and they're still pumping out those documentaries. And about 2011, out of nowhere, we're talking about the West Memphis Three case. I'm trying to bring everybody up to snuff on where we are getting to, where I'm getting to, where you don't know what I'm getting to. That made no sense. Just bear with me. Anyway, 2011, out of fucking nowhere, it seems. It felt like it was out of nowhere to me. Just all of a sudden, one day in the news, boom, West Memphis Three accepts Alford plea. Alford plea is a very, very rare. It's a very rare plea that is basically given when they're like, look, you said you didn't do it. We said you did do it. There's evidence that can show that you did it. But we're going to go off the fact that maybe you didn't do it. And you can sign this piece of paper, and you can get off of death row, and you can get off of life imprisonment, and you can walk away free and clear, but you can never sue us. We will let you out. And we think you did it. And there's stuff. But we'll let you out, but you can't sue us, and you can't have any back damages. Jason says, no way. I ain't doing it. I didn't do this. I'm not signing it. But his buddy Damien was on death row for the third time. Not once, not twice, but the third time. Damien is wasting away. He is a shell of a person at this point. And he's on death row for the third fucking time. They want to kill this motherfucker. And they tell Jason, you sign this Alford plea, Because if you don't, none of you will get out. It takes all three of you to sign this document. And if you don't sign it, your buddy's going to die. Jason ain't going to have that on his fucking conscience. So he signs it. And it says in the Alford plea, I agree that I am guilty in the eyes of the law. It was like taking a guilty plea. He said, no fucking way. I'm not doing this. I'm not guilty. I'm not signing this. But for his buddy who was wasting away and was just done at this point, he signed it. And they got out. And it was over. And it was done. The boys were out. We don't know who killed them. We'll never know who killed them. And that was it. National news didn't care anymore. A little bit later, West of Memphis comes out. To be honest, even I'd lost interest. They got out. That's all that mattered. And so national news took a step back. Boys got out. Justice was served. 3 boys are still dead. 3 boys spent a lot of their time locked up. And the whole world still believes that they got out unjustly. The amount of people that still thought that they did it was wild. People were pissed they got out. But national interest pretty much waned. Even I'd lost interest at that point. They got out. So, little did any of us know, that there was a point where there was about 2007-ish, they found some evidence. They found some DNA evidence. And Damien, Damien, the head satanic guy, the death row guy, he has said from the beginning, didn't do it. I want DNA evidence. There's DNA evidence. I want it tested. They're like, no. So 2007, somehow, by the grace of God, they find a piece of evidence and they test it. Nowhere in there is any of the West Memphis Three's DNA. But more than that, there's a hair and a ligature of one of the boys that matches Terry Hobbs. And more than that, this is so important, and people did not realize how important it was. And and if you've heard of this, you're not going to realize how important it was until I lay it all out for you. And I'm not saying that I'm the one who's going to put all this together, but trust me, after this, you're going to realize where all this was going and how we missed it all along the while. So this is the West Memphis Three case of 1993. They test the ligature, and there's a hair in the ligature of Terry Hobbs, one of the stepfathers, not Byers, not the crazy guy, a different stepdad. And there's a hair on the tree stump of David Jacoby. Okay. And this, y'all, this is where we are now caught up. And this is where you need to pay attention, because I'm going to show you, allegedly for educational and allegedly for educational and entertainment purposes only. You can buy this on my website, by the way. Anyway. All right. Allegedly, I'm going to show you how Terry Hobbs and David Jacoby were the ones who killed those boys with 2 other people. So they test this ligature, and the ligature has Terry Hobbs's hair in it. How the fuck did it get there? Oh, well, he lived with them. Write that shit away. David Jacoby, however, has a hair on a tree stump. How the fuck did that get there? And weirdly, originally, David Jacoby was Terry Hobbs's fucking alibi, because they were together that night. Trust me, they were together that night. So now we don't understand what the fuck's going on. In 2007, we don't understand what the fuck any of that means. We have some DNA, doesn't place West Memphis 3, places 2 people that shouldn't be there, but fuck it, why investigate? Who cares? Kind of gets lost along the way. You find out that there was a fire. There was a fire. It destroyed everything. There was a fire. Matter of fact, me and my friend, we had a conversation. She says, too bad everything was lost in the fire. I said, but it wasn't. Because guess what, guys? Guess what? Did you know this? There was no fire. There was no fire. West Memphis, Arkansas police said that everything was lost in the fire. The clothes, the shoelaces, everything that could ever be tested of any value was in a fire. Until it wasn't. Until they found out, when they went back and they looked after they got out, it was all still there. They just misplaced it. But it was all still there. untouched, unscathed, unburnt. So at this point, Damien's like, I want this shit tested. And originally the court says, cool, cool. And then they went, wait a minute. Nope. And they said, no way. Nope, we're not testing it. Damien says, I'm getting this shit tested. They said, no, you're not. July of 2022, it reaches Arkansas. And Arkansas says, we ain't testing it. It's not happening. You're not testing it. We're not testing it. Nobody's testing it. It's not getting tested. Because they know. They know. And I'm going to show you how they know in a minute. They say no. Earlier this year, about a month or two ago, Supreme Court, Arkansas Supreme Court said, guess what, y'all? It's getting fucking tested. We're testing that shit. Damien won. And the stuff that he wants tested, it's getting tested this year. They finally gave him the green light. Now, this motherfucker who was on death row 3 times has been pushing for this since it was, Supreme Court is allowing it to be tested. This just came through a month or two ago. And he is pushed. Now, if you are guilty and you sign a plea that says you fucking did it, would you be sitting there saying, test this? You know why he's saying test it? I'm going to tell you guys why. We're going to pull this up because I want to give this to you guys. I'm not going to give you everything. I'm going to try to dumb it down as much as I can because it's a lot. Okay. So I have these files and I deep dive. When I say I deep dive. I go through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages and sites. And you have to go back. This shit that I found, back 20 years ago. Okay. Now, Ozzy, I have an update since we got off the phone. So I'm going to let you guys know some stuff here on one of my deep dive sites. Okay. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the affidavits and the autopsies that do actually allegedly pin Terry Hobbs and David Jacoby to the site, to the murder in depth with witness testimony, not one witness testimony, not 2 witness testimonies, but 2 witness testimonies and 3 confessions. Okay. That match the autopsy. That's the kicker. These confessions match the autopsy. Now, you fucking tell me why this has not been reheard, reopened, reevaluated, because I can't figure it out. Because we have 2 confessions that match the autopsies that were affidavitted in 2 years apart. And I found an update that we're going to find out together because I didn't read the whole motherfucking thing. So I'm going to tell you this. So we're going to read a little bit here, and then I'm this is hopefully going to set me up for the affidavit autopsy portion of this. This is going to be a long live. I'm on Ryan Lee TM on YouTube. If you're starting in the middle, you can rewind this at your pleasure on Ryan Lee TM on YouTube. Give me a subscribe, follow, consider a membership. We're going to deep dive into why allegedly Terry Hobbs, David Jacoby, LG Hollingsworth, and Buddy Lucas are very possibly the killers of the West Memphis Three. So, Hobbs versus Hobbs. Terry and his wife were having difficulties in their marriage prior to 1993. They separated. 2 weeks after the murders, Terry left Pam to stay in Arkansas, 120 miles from West Memphis. By doing this, he was avoided being brought in by the police. Used his little, we're having some marital problems. I'm gonna move, 120 miles away. And trust me when I tell you that the files that I have, this man was barely talked to. He's going to be on your live Saturday. Perfect. Let him know about this one. Anyway, because I know how me and you feel about this, and I don't care what you say, and I don't care what that man says. I'm going to tell you, you need to listen to what I'm going to say so you can have some information for him on Saturday. So, from the beginning, her family accused him of the murders. According to him, his brother-in-law had regularly threatened him for having killed his stepson. The dispute came to a boil in November of 1994 when Terry hit Pam. Pam called her family for help. Terry loaded a .357 Magnum with hollow point bullets, and when Jackie began fighting with Terry, Terry shot him in the gut. He survived for 10 more years until he died from a clot released during a follow-up surgery. And of course, they blamed Hobbs for the brother-in-law's death. So he was arrested for drug possession in 2003. He was reported twice for abusing his daughter, Amanda. Pamela Hobbs took out a restraining order against him in 2005. They divorced, and his name was removed from his son's tombstone. My YouTube is Ryan Lee TM on YouTube. So I'm going to show you this. Me and Amy here. Amy has it in her heart that Terry's not to blame. I'm hoping after this live, Amy, maybe you will see where I'm coming from a little bit on this. I don't know how long you have to stay. If you have to leave for whatever reason, please at some point go back and watch about half hour starting through this live is where I'm talking to you. I really need you to hear what I'm saying so that if you're going to have him on a live on Saturday to be able to question him the best you can. So early 2007, his mtDNA was found similar to that of a hair collected in the bindings of Michael Moore. This led to heavier scrutiny by private detectives hired by Eccles' appeal team and brought to light the accusations swirling around him. June 21st of 2007, he was interrogated by the police department. Two events were undisputed that evening, framing a critical time period. At 5 p.m., he left his wife, Pamela, at her place of work. And at 9, he came to pick her up to inform her that her son was missing. He did not call the police. He drives to his wife's work and tells her, and she calls the police. He does not. Now, here's some important things. In his police and subsequent interviews, Terry Hobbs would give several versions, some impossible, of what happened between 5 and 9 p.m. Terry stated that after briefly searching his neighborhood with his daughter, Amanda, he encountered Dana Moore and followed her to her house. There he met up with Mark Byers, the cuckoo quality, in front of Byers' house before 6 p.m., and that was when they knew all three children were together. The time presented in this meeting was far from possible. The meeting from Dana Moore, Mark Byers, and thereafter Terry Hobbs would have had to have taken place after the Byers missing person report had been finished being filed at 8:30 p.m. Mark Byers' affidavit said he did not see Terry Hobbs during this period. Lie number one. Hobbs recounted visiting the Robin Hood Woods between 6 and 6:30 with his friend David Jacoby. Oh, he fucking did all right. He fucking did all right. Remember that. He puts himself in that woods with David Jacoby, and he did that because he was fucking smart, because they found Jacoby's hair on a stump and Terry's in a ligature, and he was in them fucking woods, and he has two eyewitnesses putting him there besides Jacoby. Here we go. In one interview, he described 20 to 40 people out there searching, and 3 are on four-wheelers, motorcycles, and bikes. In another interview, he says it probably until after 8 p.m. There was no immediate massive turnout for a search. And if so many witnesses were there, it would have made it impossible for Hobbs to have killed the children. These witnesses would have prevented others from committing the murders. Furthermore, David Jacoby has declared in an affidavit that he was not in the woods with Terry Hobbs at this time. And I'm going to tell you why he fucking said that. And that his searching with Hobbs consisted of briefly driving around. They were driving around all right. Together, these left Hobbs with no alibi witnesses between 5 and 8:30 p.m. And those boys, from what I remember, decided went missing at about 6:30. So he had no alibi between 5 and 8:30 p.m. And his one alibi said he wasn't with him. I'm going to tell you why he fucking wasn't later. Stick around. So he described repeatedly searching the woods where the victims were eventually found. In one iteration, he describes walking on a path that led to the ditch where they were submerged. In another version, he claims he was never within 100 yards of where they were found. Both Terry Hobbs and Pam described being spooked when drawing near what would be later to be known as the discovery site. In his deposition, he described a bad feeling about the area, and he heard branches breaking. In his interview with Dimensions Films, he was more explicit. Ryan Lee TM on YouTube, y'all. Ryan Lee TM on YouTube. If you've not gone from the beginning, you can watch this from the beginning here on. We're going to go through a lot more stuff than right here. All right, so he says in the film, at one point, me and David Jacoby, there's that Jacoby man again. He's important. He's important. And her, Pam's dad, my father-in-law, Hooked up, we came into the woods from the service road side. As we were walking straight to the pipe, there's a trail. There was a trail that cut to the left. And David and her dad kept walking back that way, and I took it down this trail. It seemed like the further I went down the trail, the scarier and the more scared I got. And I ain't scared of nobody. Just a few feet from where I stopped is the ditch where he was found, where they were found. In the Dimensions interview, Pam Hobbs described experiencing fear in the area where the victims were found. The time was probably about 10:30 p.m. She described the place as a certain point where you go in, you could go up a hill, then you go the other way to the pipe. As I come up where the hill was, that's where she felt the fear. This contrasts with her other accounts. I talked with Miss Hobbs, who has stated she was looking for her son between 10 a.m. and 6 of the woods behind Blue Beacon, but she did not stay long because she had a bad feeling about the area. That's what she fucking said. While in her testimony in the Eccles-Baldwin trials, she claimed to have never gone to the area behind the Blue Beacon. Defense attorney Val Price, do you know, I believe that the area, Robin Hood area, woods on both sides at the bayou, there's a pipe. Do you recall if you crossed that pipe? No, I didn't cross the pipe. And were you at the end of the area? That's where y'all were looking? We were looking on the other side of the woods, not the part of the woods where they were found in, but the other part, on the other part where the pool is. Okay, so there's another way to sort of enter the Robin Hood Woods areas, the area through the Blue Beacon. Did you go through that area? No, not through the Blue Beacon. With new DNA evidence, forensic analysis, and statements regarding Terry Hobbs, the Eccles legal team filed a legal motion for a new trial. With great fanfare, Eccles defense team and national experts announced their findings in a press conference November 1st, 2007. In 2007, there was a hair that was tied to Terry Hobbs in the ligature, and there was a hair from David fucking Jacoby on a tree stump. In his 2007 police interview, Terry Hobbs denied having his stepson's knife. In a deposition, he said he confiscated it years before the murders. Do you remember Stevie ever having a knife at all? I don't know if he got one of the Boy Scouts or not. He did go to Boy Scouts, but I don't think they gave him a pocket knife. But his real daddy may have given him one because his granddaddy was real proud of him, and he really liked that little boy. It's possible. I can't say yes or no. Not honestly. Would he have one if you wouldn't have known if it would have looked like? Well, if I'd seen it, I might recognize it, but I can't place one at the moment. Now, did you ever keep any of Stevie's personal possessions after the death the boys were killed? Not that I can think of. Which contrasts with the testimony in his deposition. On Channel 5 on the 21st, they also talk about him finding the knife and the knife that was Stevie's grandmother's had given to him in your stuff. So, did you have any of your possessions, Mr. Hobbs? I don't know. I think I still have his pocket knife. You have his pocket knife? I think so. And is that pocket knife that Stevie carried with him on a regular basis? Until I found it. Until I seen my stepson, who wasn't old enough to have a pocket knife, I felt like. I took the pocket knife from him and I put it in the drawer with the rest of our pocket knives. So you took the knife from Stevie years before. He always had that pocket knife, y'all. He always had that pocket knife. This is West Memphis Three, 1993. The perpetrators got out in 2011 on an Alfred plea, and new suspects came to light 2 years after, which a lot of y'all don't know about. Even I didn't know this particular portion until about 30 minutes ago. I already knew about the rest of this, but something backed me up. Anyway, among other revelations in this case, Hobbs was accusing of molesting his son from his first marriage. Like Mark Byers, Terry Hobbs had his teeth pulled by a dentist in the mid-90s. You know, right after they found the bite marks on the body, both stepdads had their teeth yanked out. Weird. Terry Hobbs did not take a polygraph exam regarding the crime and refuses now to even take one or provide handprints or provide footprints. This man has said no to everything. Hobbs had 3 guns in 93. He named one Willie and one Smith. I'm not really sure why that's prevalent into this. Hobbs claimed to have visited the area of the pipe with Officer Meek. And Officer Meek said she did not see him on that night. The thing is, Hobbs kept putting himself in vicinities of the area without putting himself in the vicinity of the area. That way, when things came to light of evidence, like, I don't know, a hair tied in a ligature, he could say, but I was there. I told you I was there, but I told you I was there. All right. So he ended up suing the Dixie Chicks, and it didn't work, by the way. Anyway, so the cumulative damning statements and the physical evidence regarding Terry Hobbs make it seem impossible that he was not responsible for the murders. Among the most incriminating of evidence is his own testimony, where he regularly contradicts himself and makes it impossible claims. However, the hair matches for both Hobbs and Jacoby were one substitution for being perfect, making it a little less inconclusive. The DNA of the hair found in Chris Byers' binding has not been matched to anyone else, suggesting an unidentified perpetrator. While various witnesses have placed the Hobbs with Hobbs that evening, other witnesses placed the victims elsewhere in the directions of Robin Hood Woods. And although Pamela Hobbs and her family have made accusations against him, she has also said things about other people, including the Moores. So if you look at the differences, when they wanted to talk about the Byers and Terry Hobbs, we have a nice little handy dandy chart right here that actually shows the difference between the two. And so now what we're going to do, I'm going to talk to you some stuff now that would kind of link Terry Hobbs, and then I'm going to get to the really important stuff: the witnesses, the new suspects, and how the new suspects tie in with Terry Hobbs. So of here, the ex-wife family believes he may have committed the murders. Some business clients accused him of guilt. Several he's had, including his beating his stepson and his wife. He shot his brother-in-law after beating his wife. His police intervention dispute with her daughter's boyfriend. He's said to have confessed to killing his neighbor's cat, beat up someone who kissed his wife. Multiple accusations by his ex-wife's family and his daughter regarding sexual acts involving his daughter and his stepson. Police record regarding groping neighbor in her shower. He had a criminal record and admissions of drug abuse. He had a restraining order by his wife. He had the prize knife, even though the family said that Stevie kept it with him at all times and would have had it with him at the time of the murder. And he has other knives as well. Possible source of mtDNA found in the binding of Michael Moore. Friend is possible source of mtDNA found at the crime scene. Let me tell you why that's important. There's eyewitness testimony that places them there. He has a contradictory and impossible alibi for the crucial time between 5 to 9 p.m. His alibi does not check out. Does not. He admitted to concentrating his search efforts in the area where the victims were found. He said he was stopped by the presence of evil at a site just a few feet from the ditch where they were found in. Contradictory explanations as to why his search focused near the discovery of the woods. Admitted to having discovered the victims before the police. He claimed to have told Pam to get over the murders. Claimed to have said that people couldn't handle the truth about the crimes. Claimed to have said he could make the cut on the penis because of his experience as a butcher. Multiple instances of contradictory statements. David Jacoby and the Ballard state that they saw him with the victims shortly before his disappearance. Let me tell you why David Jacoby is going to say that he saw shit. Okay? Because he did. Well, I missed it. What'd you say? About Don't Come For You. What did you do? Can you see the handy dandy shirt? I will absolutely send it to you. I will absolutely send it to you, 100%. So you can see it. It's quite wild. It's quite wild. Byers and Hobbs, they were real characters, and they both had a lot of shit. Byers, it's wild. So here we go. To the point of where now that we're 48 minutes in, I can finally get to what I want to talk about. Okay. So here we go. This is a lot. There's a lot of people that I'm about to say, and I may get one or two of them confused because there's a Billy, a Buddy, and a Benny. Fuck y'all. Anyway, so there's these guys, Billy, Benny, and Roy, and they were all local drug dealers. Okay, and they sold to Hobbs. Okay, they sold to Hobbs, and so Roy, I'm trying to do this in a way that makes timeline sense, but it, honestly, let's just be real, it may not work out that way. So Roy knew Benny and Billy, and Benny and Billy signed affidavits saying of what they knew about the crime, with confessions that tied to the autopsies. Okay, so Roy introduces Billy and Benny to Terry, and Billy starts selling drugs to Terry. Okay. So Billy finds out from Roy. This is very important, y'all. You have to remember, this is the 1990s Bible Belt South. Same reason satanic panic is important, so is homophobia. So Billy finds out from Roy that Terry's bi. Okay, this is so important. Billy starts selling drugs to Terry. And the day before the murders, Terry shows up in a pickup truck. Or the day of the murders, I think. The day of the murders. He shows up in a pickup truck. And in that pickup truck is Terry Hobbs, David Jacoby, LG Hollingsworth, and Buddy Lucas. LG, Buddy get out. They buy the drugs. They look over. They see Terry and Jacoby kissing in the truck. Okay, this is not the first time. This is they're gonna find out about this 3 times, because then Billy saw him another time. Terry and David were allegedly kissing another time, and then once he did not want to have to come pick them up, Billy actually delivered them to Jay Wags in Memphis, Tennessee. It was a gay club, and he delivered the drugs in Memphis, Tennessee to Terry, where again he was found with Jacoby, again being intimate. Okay, this is very, very important for the night of the murders. So on the night of the murders, this is how, according to affidavits that were signed in court, one in February of 2013 and one in May of 2015, they correlate, they go together, and they match up with the autopsies, FYI. So in 2013, February 2013, Benny Guy signed an affidavit after LG Hollingsworth, he was in jail with LG Hollingsworth. And LG Hollingsworth, who was there that night, tells Benny what happened. Okay. Benny, at the same time, I believe he had talked to Buddy, but I'm not sure. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Baby. He talks to Buddy, and then Benny talks to Billy, who talks to Buddy. Now, Billy gets an entire confession from Buddy. By the way, Buddy was the one that had to do with the shoes of Jesse. I know, this is wild. Okay, this is wild. So, baby, I'm going to have to give you a Benadryl if you don't stop. Come on. Go lay down. I have to give her Benadryl all the time. She's itchy. Give her medicated baths. It don't really help. Anyway, so at this point, May 2015, Billy signs an affidavit based off of what Buddy Lucas has told him. In February of 2013, Benny Guy signs an affidavit of what LG confesses to him. Both of those, which I have the affidavits of both of those, which you can see partially in my Real Crime Replay pin video. I show the affidavits. They coincide with findings in the autopsies. Now, what was weird to me was I had to find out something. So I looked something up today, and we're going to find this out together. March 27th, 2013. If you don't think that I was onto something, I just found this literally, but right after Ozzy, right after we got off the phone, I thought to myself, how the fuck was this never talked about? How the fuck was this never talked about? New suspects are allegedly Buddy Lucas and LG Hollingsworth. Then again, LG said the boys were stabbed to death with a pocket knife, which they were not. There was a couple inconsistencies, but overall, what was said in Billy and Benny's affidavits actually matched the autopsies. When I pulled the autopsies and read the autopsies, there was things that were conclusive in LG and Buddy's story that coincided with the autopsies. They said that one of the boys was beaten to death. In the autopsies, one boy was beaten worse than the others, and the other 2 actually drowned. They were beaten, but they drowned. And that is exactly what LG and Buddy said. They said that they beat one to death and that they had to get rid of the rest of it and threw the boys into the creek where, according to autopsies, they drowned. And that is exactly what LG and Buddy said happened. They also said, so this is how it went down that night, according to LG and Buddy. According to LG and Buddy, they were riding around with Terry and Jacoby. They stopped over to Billy's to get the drugs where they were seen. And they go out to the woods. And they're fucking around in the woods, fucking around. And Terry tells LG and Buddy that they need to wrestle. They want to watch that shit. So Hobbs and Jacoby are chilling in the bed of the truck. LG and Buddy are fighting out front. And here comes the 3 little boys. And the 3 little boys stumble on the 4 men, the 2 that are wrestling and the 2 that are kissing yet again. Now, Stevie sees his stepdad making out with a guy. The fuck? He's going to go home and tell his mama. Okay? He's going to go home and tell his mama. And Hobbs jumps out the truck and says, "Get him." LG and Buddy take off. They grab him, whatever. Now, the one that got beat to death was actually not Stevie. Stevie actually ended up drowning. But in what they said was in these affidavits that you can actually see part of on the video, because I'm not pulling them all up now because I can't. Again, Ryan Lee TM on YouTube. If you want to watch this from the beginning, Ryan Lee on YouTube, there will be a replay. Give me a like, follow, share, etc. Think about becoming a member. So what they said happened was these boys were beaten, and then they said that they saw Terry bite one of the boys. One of the boys had a bite mark. Terry had his teeth pulled right after. Okay. They said that they saw Terry go at the nether regions of one of the boys with a knife. One of the boys' nether regions was absolutely mutilated. And later on, further in the trial, Damien and the West Memphis Three boys tried to satanic panic away the mutilation of the genitals by saying that it was possibly turtles in the creek. We all heard the turtles in the creek thing, right? And they tried to say that turtles in the creek had caused the mutilation to the genitals. However, there was actually cut marks on these genitals. And Terry was heard saying that he could have done that because he was a butcher at one point. And the nether regions absolutely were mutilated, just like LG and Buddy fucking said they were. So they said they had put themselves and Terry and Jacoby at the scene where there was DNA evidence of Terry Hobbs's hair and Jacoby's hair. Terry and Jacoby put themselves at the scene, then didn't put themselves in the scene. Then Jacoby was Terry's witness, but then he wasn't his witness. And then LG and Buddy's stories pretty much corroborate. They both confessed to somebody. In the meantime, Roy Taylor comes and says that Terry confessed to him. So Roy's got Terry confessing. Benny's got Buddy confessing. Billy's got LG confessing. 2 signed affidavits that match an autopsy. And all of this happened in 2013 and 2015. Now, 2013 is where this article is. And at that point, only LG's confession from Benny was affidavit in. Billy's did not get signed till 2 years after this happened, where they were considered new suspects. Now, so they were already being considered suspects back from the first affidavit, not even the second affidavit. Fast forward to December 2021, when they find out that all of the burned up fire evidence was never burned up. It is there and it is able to be tested. And they said that it could be tested. Then they said it couldn't be tested. And then it went to the Supreme Court. And it, as of a month or two ago, was allowed to be tested. Obviously, it has not come back yet. We have no idea what the hell is going to come back. Damien has said from the beginning, when he got the first portion done in 2007, that they would find nothing of the West Memphis Three, and they never did. But what they did find was Terry Hobbs's hair and David Jacoby's hair at that scene, puts them at with one marker away, even though they both put themselves at the scene, even though LG and Buddy both put them at the scene. They put themselves at the scene. They hokey pokey that shit. We were there. We weren't. We were there. They weren't. He was an alibi. Then he wasn't. There is so much here that says that LG, Buddy, Terry, and Jacoby all were there that night. But I can tell you with everything in me that it ain't going to matter what fucking comes out of that DNA evidence. The West Memphis, Arkansas police will never, ever, ever admit that they were wrong. They will never admit that they were wrong. That can come out with fucking, that could come out with Terry Hobbs all over that DNA, and they are not going to do shit. They're not going to, because they know they doubled down so hard on Damien. They will never say that it was anything other than Damien. So All right, so let's see. This is brand new. We're going to read this together. This is brand new. I just found this after I got off the phone. We're going to see what this says. This is brand new information to me. I've not read this yet. Let's see if it fucks me over, if it doesn't, because I'm going to argue if it fucking does. March 27, 2013. A hearing held today regarding evidence in the West Memphis Three murders. The names of several new possible suspects were released by attorneys for the mother of one of the victims. Several documents, which would be, really, bro, the puzzle piece. I'm not sleeping. Why do I got a puzzle piece of this shit? Anyway. Again, at this point, so yes, so February of 2013, Benny Guy signed an affidavit about LG. So this was March 27th. So this was based off the affidavit that I have of Benny Guy in February of 2013. This hearing was held based off of just that affidavit. And there was another affidavit May of 2015, 2 years later. So several documents were handed out naming new possible suspects in the 1993 murders of 3 8-year-old boys. One of those named is Terry Hobbs, her ex-husband, and this is Pam. Pam fucking started this shit. Good for her. This is the time, by the way, that Devil's Knot came out. Devil's Knot, the movie, came out in 2013. It was in the can and being produced and being put out in 2013. So while this movie is coming out from her viewpoint, this is what's going on. She fucking did this. Didn't know that. One of those named as Harry Hobbs, her ex-husband, and the stepfather victim of Stevie Branch. Also on the list is David Jacoby, L.G. Hollingsworth, and Buddy Lucas. A witness says several years after the killing, Buddy Lucas admitted that he and 3 others took part in the murders. The police says that Hobbs and Jacoby invited Lucas and Hollingsworth, who were teens at the time, to go get high. Exactly what the affidavits say. It says the 4 were drinking and smoking pot when Hobbs saw several kids spying on them. This is based off of that fucking affidavit, because this is exactly what that affidavit says. The affidavit, the next sentence, the affidavit. The affidavit claims that Jacoby grabbed one of the children, beat him severely, while Hobbs ordered Lucas and Hollingsworth to grab and hold the other 2 boys. A witness says that Lucas told him Hobbs killed the boys with a pocket knife and mutilated their bodies. The bodies were mutilated by a pocket knife. The nether regions were. I read the autopsy. They were mutilated with cut precision. They were. Yeah, absolutely, Annie. So, Lucas, who is being described as mentally slow, and he's like Jesse, was reportedly sent away from the area for several years immediately after the incident. He absolutely was. A witness states once he learned what happened, that would be Benny Guy, by the way. That's Benny Guy's affidavit. A witness states that he learned what happened. He contacted the West Memphis police, but no one returned his call. Judge Victor Hill is hearing from the parents of 3 victims who want access to the evidence in the murders. Pam Hicks, the mother of Stevie Branch, wants to examine some of the items that belong to her son and were found at the murder scene. Hicks previously told us, I want to know what has been not contaminated if they need it. Something were to come out of this, I definitely don't want to touch it. I just want to have a peace of mind of ease of knowing they still have it. The police chief says they still have it and most of it is sealed. Then they said there was a fire. There was no fire, and they found the evidence in December of 2021. Oak said Hicks requested to see all of the evidence. He said they probably could let her see some of it, and had prosecution and the defense agreed, but giving anyone access to the evidence outside of the forensic testing could compromise a future prosecution if there ever was one. Last year, all 3 men in the case, Damian Eccles, Jesse Miscarley Jr., and Jason Baldwin, were released when they made a plea deal with prosecutors where they maintained their evidence, but it's supposed to be innocence, but pled guilty. Pam Hicks has publicly said she no longer thinks the West Memphis Three are guilty, and she is glad they are freed. Mark Byers also went and backed them as well. I appreciate you flagging my live of me trying to get out word. I appreciate you. I am on Ryan Lee TM on YouTube, where this is being put in posterity. If you want to rewatch it, it is on Ryan Lee TM YouTube. There is zero reason to flag my content for simply reading news articles and talking about affidavits that I have that are public record, which is how I found them publicly. So, allegedly, based off of all evidence, affidavits, and autopsies, Terry Hobbs, David Jacoby, LG Hollingsworth, and Buddy Lucas very well may have been involved. Buddy and LG actually say that they were involved. They were there. They did take part in it. They did see what was going on. David Jacoby at one point was Terry Hobbs's alibi. Then he retracted that alibi. They both put themselves at the scene and then, hokey pokeyed out of there and said no. They said, I was here, but I was there. And then again, like I said, Terry Hobbs had his teeth pulled. One of the boys was bit. He took off 120 miles right after the case happened. Couldn't be questioned because he couldn't be found. And then after the family literally accuses him of doing it, he beats his wife. She calls for help, and he shoots the brother, who died 10 years later from complications. So there's always been a rumor going around. And when Cold Case did their version of West Memphis, they absolutely did say that in their version, Terry Hobbs did it. And as you can see throughout the years, word has spun around. There's been affidavits signed. There's been hearings heard. There's been witnesses. There's been evidence that did not add up in any way, shape, or form that puts these men there with witnesses. Let me ask you a question. For LG and Buddy, why would they put themselves at the scene of a triple homicide? They both put themselves there and said, I was there. This is what happened. Why would they do that? Why would two different individuals do that? Now you say, but Jesse did it. Jesse said that he was there. First of all, if you go back and you listen to the whole 40 minutes that was recorded out of the 12 hours, you could tell he wasn't there because nothing he said made any damn sense. Okay? Nothing he said made any sense. Whereas LG and Buddy, which the affidavits were signed 2 years apart, 2 years and 2 months apart, 2 years and 3 months apart. The affidavits were signed 2 years and 3 months apart and given by two different witnesses to them, and they match. LG and Buddy's descriptions to the people that they each confessed to match. They match. Yes. So, well, they even fucked up there too. So she's saying they basically only recorded him after they coached his story to match the evidence. Yes, but they're even in the recording. There is parts where he says, "Oh, well, it happened during school," and they're like, "Oh, you mean after school?" Yeah. I mean after school. And they were beat with, they were, we chased them down and we did this and that. Oh, you mean you did? Yeah, that's what I mean. They absolutely tried to just tell Jesse whatever. And I never understood why Jesse was brought in to begin with, but it all had to do with some fucking shoes from Buddy. Buddy, the guy who said he was there. He supposedly gave this pair of shoes to Jesse, and then Jesse gets hauled in, and all of this happened because of a pair of shoes of somebody who said and admitted that they were there. Why would you ever admit to somebody in great detail that you were there? Then your buddy goes to jail and he tells a friend and he admits in great detail that matches the first guy 2 years earlier. Or let's see, LG confessed first in a jailhouse confession in 2013. Buddy confessed after Billy talked, because, okay, so LG confesses to Benny while they're in jail. But Benny goes and talks to Billy. Billy wants to know what the fuck's going on. Billy says, "Hey, buddy, what's going on, buddy?" And Buddy says, "Yeah." And he tells Billy fucking everything. And then Buddy got sent away. That's exactly how Buddy got sent away, because at that point they were worried where he was staying. Is he a danger to people? And they sent him away. That is absolutely true. They did send him away. So also, Ray Taylor, who did not sign an affidavit, said that Terry confessed to him, but there's no affidavit saying that. So that is essentially hearsay. However, the two affidavits of the other two who said they were there were signed. They were considered. And I don't know what happened after that. I got so fucking excited from that goddamn thing. I didn't get to see anything else. But they, what's this? What is this? I'm hitting buttons, guys. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I just seen something interesting and hit a button. Now the question is, all this stuff has been here a long time. It's probably gonna be a 404 error found. It's not loading. So was he setting them up? What do you mean? Jesse had no idea what the fuck was going on. And they wanted to pin this shit on Damien from go. Was he here? Okay, so here's the thing with Buddy and Jesse in the shoes. Buddy and Jesse are both slow. They're both slow. So I don't think Buddy necessarily had the foresight to set him up, but I think it was he knew he needed to get rid of these shoes. And so he gave them to Jesse. I don't think it was so much setting him up as it was him just going, I need to get rid of these shoes. And it just so happened that, that these damn shoes. And next thing you know, they have him confessing to everything under the sun, throwing Jason and Damien under the bus. And, Damien, he was cocky. He was a cocky little shit. So he was, I mean, there's actually a, where he was at one of his trials and he was rolling in his eyes. And I think at some point, didn't he do the Hail Satan thing or something? Like he literally turned around, like he did something, a giant fuck you to the camera. I can't remember exactly what it was. I want to say it was like a Hail Satan sign. I can't remember. I could be getting that confused with Richard Ramirez, who yelled Hail Satan with a pentagram on his hand. So right. So somebody said on here, this will be thrown out in no time. Once Damien and the boys were released by pleading guilty while maintaining their innocence, it was considered a closed case. The only people who would or could reopen the case would be the defense. The state does not want to show any signs of weakness and that they have never made a mistake, which is why they sat in prison for so long. All new evidence shows the victims suffered blunt force trauma and drowned. There's no stabbings that these new suspects claim. And that is true. There was a lot of blunt force trauma. Matter of fact, if you read the autopsies, they are pretty gruesome. The autopsies are not okay. They are not good at all. And one of them, much like LG and Buddy said, one of them was severely more beaten than the other two. Severely more, as in sustained to his injuries before he went into the creek, whereas the other two were beaten and then thrown into the creek. One of them, the whole fucking head caved in. There was rumors that two of the boys had been SA'd because of findings in the autopsy, but then it was thrown out that it was just basically muscle loss, which does happen. And it was only on two of the boys, which is why they were kind of like, because I had heard little whisperings of whether or not that they had been SA'd. And nothing ever really came of that. They just said that that they weren't. So that is about where everything is, and we're going to be hearing about The testing was granted a month or two ago. And I don't know how long it's going to take. It's DNA testing. It's probably going to take months, forever. Um, Now I got it for harassment and bullying. Now I got it for harassment and bullying, y'all. Talking about a true crime case, and I'm suddenly somehow harassing and bullying. Again, Ryan Lee TM on YouTube. If you are late to the show, it will be on replay. If this gets kicked, I'm on YouTube. I'm used to this shit by this point. I'm sorry, Audra. So, that is where that all lies right now. So right now we basically need to find out what's going on with the evidence, whether or not it was even worth testing. I mean, you have to remember this stuff was in the water. The stuff that they found was the shoes, the clothes, the shoelaces. All this stuff was waterlogged. They made DNA tests and find nothing. They may find nothing. All of this could have been for nothing. Years of asking could be for nothing. Yeah, and we're not harassing and bullying anything. This is all allegedly and for entertainment purposes only. We are only reading newspaper articles and getting public things off of public websites. So there may not be any evidence left, if any. And that's a very big possibility. But in the end, whatever is found, if anything is found, somebody's going to try to explain it away, no matter what it is. Whether, I mean, and let's go both sides of the deal here. You find something from Terry or Jacoby. Well, yeah, but he lived at the house. But yeah, my friend was with him. I mean, that's the same way. That's how they tried to explain away. I remember back when they found the hairs and they said, well, yeah, they were out searching. Of course there'd be hair. They were out searching. Of course there'd be hair. Oh, the ligature. They live together. So what do I think about the turtle theory? The turtle theory was huge for the defense. And let's just be real. Two things here about the turtle theory. Number one, you have to understand that Damien was fighting for his literal life. They went after that boy for death penalty. And is it possible that there was some destruction from turtles? Yeah. But I can tell you by reading the autopsy that part of the reason that they went after them for satanic panic is that a portion of that boy's genitals were not bitten. They were not bitten. They were mutilated. And that also was said, I want to say LG went into a extensive it's in if you go to Real Crime Replay, I show some of the affidavits and I talk about it and I show some of the affidavits. One of them went into more detail about the mutilation of the nether regions. Do I think turtles could have bitten on the body? Sure. Do I think that it's interesting that they want to peg turtles on a genital mutilation when, if you want to go off the fact it was an appendage, why wasn't this on the fingers, on the hand, on the toes, on the fingers, on the nose, on the ears? It was only the nether region that this turtle got hungry. So they were in the water for, I think they found him later that night. Remember that Mark Byers had been a jeweler before this happened. What relevance is? Oh, he had been a jeweler. What? Okay, why are we talking about him being a jeweler? What were we talking about? What does the jeweler have to do with it? What does that have to do with anything? Help me. So, by the way, you guys hear me throwing around the term red herring a lot. There's always red herrings. And Mark Byers was the classic red herring. And I was talking to my friend about that down here. The carving of the organ. Well, don't forget, Terry Hobbs was a butcher. So Terry Hobbs was a butcher and John Mark was a jeweler. So precise cutting all the way around. But again, that throws John Mark out there. John Mark Byers was a great red herring. He was, if you guys have to watch Paradise Lost to understand what I mean. Mark Byers was certifiable, and he was a red herring, great red herring because I mean, they spent one thing that was really great about the HBO docuseries was they kind of went in not to show the boys innocent, not to show the boys not innocent. They kind of went in there like, hey, let's just throw spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. And here comes Mark Byers out of nowhere. And he is weird. And by the way, let's talk about John Mark for a hot second. I found this back in 1997. And I talked to my friend about it. She said, I never heard nothing about that. I only heard this. I said, no, you got to hear the whole thing. That's not the whole thing. And I read her a couple more articles. There was one from 2002, one from 97. So Mark Byers' wife, after her son was murdered, died mysteriously. And originally it went around. My friend had heard that it was a Dilaudid OD. And Dilaudid was mentioned in the first article that I found, deep diving back in 97. And I found this article from 97. It's still up. It still talks about it, about how she was found and whatever. But then I found other articles. And these other articles had talked about the fact that, number one, she was found with a couple different needle marks in different areas that you try to hide things. He also removed his teeth. But she had needle marks in weird areas, right? So she goes and she lays down and she goes to bed, right? And her son, or I guess her son and his girlfriend were laying naked on the couch. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but anyway. And Mark goes in and they find her. And while they're waiting for EMTs, he says to a neighbor, this is like in articles, he says to a neighbor, two things. He said to one neighbor, I hope they don't find the Dilaudid in the bottom drawer. And it was found out she had Dilaudid in her system. And then when another neighbor was taking him to the emergency room or wherever he was, or to the house, where he was taking him wherever for the body, he said, I hope they don't think I smothered her. Now, I was just looking up because I was like, all right, so where's the end game with this? So I was looking it up in the different articles about her mysterious death. And lo and fucking behold, they were still getting the wraparound in 2002, a couple years later. And they said, oh, it was an OD. No, it wasn't an OD. Oh, it was this. She had petechia. I remember she had petechia, which is why it was weird. He talked about suffocating. And in toxicology, she did not have, it was not a lethal dose in her system. It was not a lethal dose. And they could not find any natural reason that she died either. So to this day, it's considered undetermined. And it was actually investigated as a homicide in the beginning. So Mark Byers' wife dies mysteriously. He also has his teeth pulled. Terry Hobbs kills his wife's brother 10 years after the fact. He succumbed to it, but he did shoot the wife's brother for accusing him of killing his stepson. He also has his teeth removed. There's a handy dandy little chart that explains the differences between Byers and Hobbs, and they're pretty similar. So yes. So this chat is so fascinating. I've seen the docuseries and read a few books. Read Devil's Knot by Mara Leverett. It's the best one. I'm still reading. I got sidetracked. Harvest of Innocence, which is actually Jesse Miss Kelly's lawyer, wrote a book. It's called Harvest of Innocence. And it's Jesse Miss Kelly's lawyer. And now that I am not being spun around by the goddamn gypsy case, and I'm finally free of the gypsy case, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to read Harvest of Innocence. And I'm going to share some shit with you guys and actually get back to the West Memphis 3 shit that I was doing before the fucking gypsy bullshit. I've seen a docuseries and read a few books. I also watched Terry Hobbs' deposition against the Dixie Chicks. He actually ended up having to pay the Dixie Chicks money. So Harvest of Innocence is actually Jesse Miss Kelly's lawyer. He put out a book, which I got very, very short into it. I got spun up in this gypsy bullshit of being in the middle of Fancy and Christy and I stopped doing what I wanted to do, which was discussing this West Memphis case. And then lo and behold, while I take my break, the Supreme Court has a decision and they are going to do the DNA that was found in the non-fired items. Tomorrow or the day after, whenever I get my second circle bottle, I'm going to be doing an unboxing and talking about it. I ordered this one, and it's a squeeze bottle. And it's ugly as shit, ain't it? So I got this on it, but I can't get it on. And then 12 hours later, they dropped a limited edition bottle. So I bought that one, and I'm waiting for that one. But I do have, in the meantime, I had gotten, plus the one that's in it. These are mine. And then my husband got, these two. So I did open one up, a limited edition one, and I am drinking it. It is B vitamin infused green apple cherry, and it's actually really good. I got it on like a 3 or 4. So I am going to be finally finishing the Harvest of Innocence. I'm going to do it. I don't have time. I don't have time for anything. And so I really want to read this damn thing. I want to get videos out on this thing. I have put some behind the scenes, crime scene photos and newspaper clippings and things like that on Real Crime Replay, where I put all of my West Memphis stuff. All my West Memphis stuff is going to be on Real Crime Replay, all one word, on TikTok. It's also I'm probably going to be putting a lot of it on YouTube. Probably going to redo some stuff on YouTube and put it on YouTube as well underneath my true crime playlist. If you have just joined this live early and feel like you want to deep dive into this with me, it is on Ryan Lee TM on YouTube. You can rewatch this from the beginning and really see where all of this goes. As I find out anything that happens with the Supreme Court and the DNA testing, I will absolutely be holding information about that. Yeah, I'm going to be, trust me, because I'm basically moving my platform from TikTok over to YouTube in the end, because when TikTok goes belly up, I want to have a place. So does the new one have the top handle? Because if so, the cap slips under so you don't have to hold it. No, this is the this is the squeezy bottle, and it does not. Now the new one is a stainless steel cheetah print. So I don't know what's going on there, but so essentially I'm going to be putting anything of any relevance over on YouTube anyways. If you like true crime, I have a whole playlist based off of just true crime. I have one just based off of Kentucky, one based off of animals, but my true crime one is going to be where all the true crime stuff is. I actually am going to not take down, but save the videos of West Memphis and start putting them over onto YouTube under the true crime playlist. So this one, literally, I got this bottle. I'm not even kidding. I decided I wanted one. My electrolytes are shit, and I am not doing okay body wise. I went and my electrolytes are all fucked up. My muscles are all fucked up. Everything is fucked up. I'm a disaster. So I was like, I need to get healthier. So I ordered the Circle. And in order, by the way, just for anybody thinking about it, if you get a Circle bottle off of the website, they have a huge selection, all different kinds. And they have all different types of drinks. They have, electrolyte ones and energy ones and coffee ones and tea ones and punch ones and all different kinds, caffeine ones. And the more you spend, the more money they take off. And then if you sign up for auto ship, they take $10 or 10% more off your order. And every auto ship, you go in and you can change anything you want around before your auto ship date. So I can go in there if I decide, I want this one, all new ones, whatever. And then they auto ship it. And the more you auto ship, the cheaper those get. So if you're ever going to get a Circle bottle, go to the website. It's got a lot more. It's got 12 ounce, 22 ounce, 32 ounce, and 62 ounce. It's got plastic, it's got matte, it's got metal. They got limited edition ones. Like I said, I literally bought the squeeze bottle, and 12 hours later, they dropped a brand new one. And I tried to switch that one out to the new one, and they were like, "We can't do that, but we'll give you a $5 gift card." So I used that to buy the next one, which should hopefully be here tomorrow. Um, yeah, he was definitely a showman in that doc, and he was a huge red herring for sure. Okay, absolutely, Audra. You can, you can absolutely reach me on any of the platforms, whatever one you want to talk to me on, babe. If you go to Canada, Walmart is your cheapest. Well, I can tell you here, I went to Walmart, and especially because in Walmart they give you two random flavors, and by the time I were to get a new bottle and have to buy, I actually made it out like $10 cheaper, doing it this way, and I actually got the bottle I wanted, and I got the flavors I wanted. So, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the deep dive into West Memphis 3. And there will be more about that as I hear anything, or if anybody hears anything and wants to tag me in it, super appreciated. I always love being tagged and stuff because I can't see everything, and I can't. I'm only one person, and I can't find everything. So I hope that you guys can. If you guys see anything, hear anything, tag me. And the more that I find out, the more that you guys will find out, because I want to stay on top of this. I want to see what happens. Um, but that is exactly why when I say that, I know that they didn't do it, and I really think that these guys did, this is why. Because there's just too much evidence saying otherwise. So, TikTok, it's been nice seeing you. Follow me on Ryan Lee TM on YouTube. I'm going to switch over to YouTube right here and talk to you guys for a second, and then probably leave and come back. So follow me on Ryan Lee TM on YouTube. Thanks. So lovely enough that I got a fucking 2 violations. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah, Jeannie, you came in late. But I'm telling you, if this interests you, go back to the beginning, because it's very, very interesting. I promise you. And I'm not just saying that because I'm the one who did it. But because I'm trying to keep this one strictly true crime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get off of here, and I will probably come back for a normal live here in half an hour, hour and a half, somewhere between 9 and 10. I will be back here for a normal live to hang out and chill. I'm going to go get a couple things done, hop on my game for a hot second, and come back and have a nice normal live. But I want to separate my true crime one from my normal lives. So if you guys want to come join me back here in about an hour and a half, just check back. So I will see you later.